Hi, my name is Phoebe, and I'm going to walk you through some of the great new features that have been introduced in CLO 6.2, along with some new feature improvements as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the chat if you're watching this live. However, if you're not because you were too busy or something, please feel free to respond in the comments below, and a CLO designer will get back to you. We really hope you enjoy all of these new features, and I can't wait to introduce them all to you. So let's get started. We have a new tool called the Fill tool. This Fill tool is going to allow you to more accurately and easily add in fill to puffy garments, quilted garments, accessories, home goods, all of that. So let's go into exactly how this works. Now, as you can see, I've got my jacket DX patterns here in my 2D window, and I already have some internal lines on there for quilting lines. So if I go to my fill tool here and select it, I'll then start to just see the outlines of the patterns. I can now select which pattern pieces I want to apply this fill to. I can either click on each one, use my marquee box, or hold down Shift to select multiple. I'm going to hold down Shift to select multiple, and once I release Shift, it will then place this fill now onto my pattern pieces. Now I have the fill applied to these pattern pieces, and you can see because they're outlined in purple. Even those internal lines that were once red are now purple. Now you can see off to our property editor that this is some new information which we'll get to in a minute. But let's quickly just talk about the internal lines. So I have internal lines on my body, but I want to add them to my sleeve. I can do that at any point of this process. So I'm going to do that right now and add some internal lines to my sleeve. As you can see, they've applied to both symmetric pattern pieces and both layers, which is really great. And when I go to the fill, you'll see that they're now activated. You can actually deactivate these quilting lines as well if you wanted by just clicking on them. Activated means purple, deactivated will be gray. Now let's go into adding some fill. So I'm going to just select all of my pattern pieces, and off to the side in my property editor, let's go through the fill options. We have 4 different fill options. We've got duck, 75-25 fill, duck, 90-10. We have goose, 80-20, and goose, 90-10. So these are the 4 fills we have at the moment. You can select any one of them that you would wish to use, and then you can start to apply your weight. The weight is going to allow you to either apply all of your pattern pieces, and the weight will then distribute between each one, like so. So I put in 120, and now you can see that this pattern piece is at a different weight. I could also just select one pattern piece and apply the weight to that whole pattern piece if I'd like. The next thing I'm going to do is apply my quilting line information. So my front and back quilting lines are the same. So I'm going to put in 14 centimeters because that's how far apart these lines are. For my sleeve though, I'm going to put in a different number since that quilting distance is a little bit different. I'm going to put in 12 centimeters. Now, if you go over to your quilting line, you're going to see this little question mark icon. If you hover over it, this is going to give you a more in-depth information on exactly what this does and how it calculates the quilting volume and everything. Once I'm all set, I can just easily hit this simulation button, and with a click of the space bar, I now have a puffy jacket. How cool. One final thing I do want to show you all though is that realistic quilting that you saw in the property editor. So if I go back to my pattern pieces and if I select this here, you'll see that the realistic quilting is checked off. If I check it on to apply a more realistic puffy look, which you can see here, you can actually compare what it looks like from the realistic quilting to a non-realistic quilting on the sleeve. Adding realistic quilting will be great once you're finished with your garment. So we have created a folding feature within CLO 6.2. This will make it easier and faster to fold within CLO. So all of those scenes that you want to do with folded garments, it's now going to be so much easier and faster. To do this, all we're going to do is first prep the garment. So we're going to use this women's sweater, and we're first going to select the garment using our 2D window, and then we're going to use those gizmos tools to rotate it and bring it down to the ground, as you can see here. Now, once it's placed on the ground, we can then simulate it so that it lies flat. Great, now we're ready to go to the folding tool. So the folding tool is off to the left toolbar, or your 3D toolbar if you want to think about it like that. And we're going to now go over there and select this toolbar. Here it is. Here's the folding tool. So once you select that, there's going to be a pop-up box that appears. And you're going to have a few more options from there. We're going to go over all of these options. Now, the first option you have actually in this little box with all the tools is this rotating option. This is going to rotate your garment along the x-axis. So as you can see here, this will rotate it. The next option is the flip tool. So this is going to flip the garment so that you can fold either the front or the back. We're going to keep it on the back so that we can fold it in the back. Now we also have the fold settings. So this is a little bit like that high res and low res, but these are how to have it for when you're folding. It's going to be set at 10 millimeters instead of 5 or 20. Once that's all set, we can then simulate and have it settle. The other tool that you can use is this spreading tool. This tool works a little bit like strengthening does. What it will do is it will spread your garment out so that there aren't really any wrinkles. This is going to be nice because you're going to then be able to fold it a little bit easier, as you can see. Now, this tool will go back to the settings, and it will keep it at the settings of what you first clicked, so that 10 millimeter for particle distance and everything. Now we get to the fun part. Here's the folding. So the first fold tool will fold the entire garment. So any pattern and garment that is in this window will be affected by this next tool, which is the folding tool. So it's this one. What you do is you just click once to start away from your garment, and then you're going to double click to end. And you're going to pick the line on which you want it to fold. Once you double click to end, a gizmo tool is going to come up. See? And here, it's going to look a lot like that fold arrangement tool that we all know and love. So you're going to pick one of the arrows. I'm going to pick the green one. And you're going to click and hold down, and you're just going to fold your garment over. If you hold down shift, it will do the 45-degree angles, but I'm just going to eyeball it. Once it's good there, I'm now going to just simulate. You can also hit escape to get out of the tool, the folding tool. So great. Now let's go to this other folding tool. This other folding tool is really neat because it will allow you to select certain pattern pieces to fold. So if you don't want the entire garment affected, you can here just select your pattern pieces like I'm going to do here in my 3D window. And then once I've selected the pattern pieces I want, I'll then hit enter. Now only this sleeve is going to be affected by the folding. And again, I'm going to just click to start, double click to end, and then use these arrows to fold it the direction that I want. Pretty easy, right? So nifty. I can then simulate, or I can continue to fold if I'd wish. But I'm going to simulate here. And now to get the folded garment that I want, I'm going to either use my hand tool or the rest of these fold tools to fold this sweater. So I'll just be using the fold tool for either the whole garment, and sometimes I'll switch to that fold tool where I'll have to select certain pattern pieces. So I feel like this is the coolest part because I'm able to fold the back so quickly and easily in a matter of seconds. Like, look at that. Done. Now I can just quickly and easily flip my garment back over to the front, simulate again, have everything settle down, and I'm going to use that folding tool, the original one, because when I go to my sleeve, the sleeve pattern isn't directly over any other pattern piece. So if I just fold this, it won't affect any other pattern piece because it's not directly on top of anything else. So I can just use this fold tool and fold my sleeve over so that you have this really nice and professional looking fold. And there you have it, a great little folded sweater already. In 6.2, we have added a link to CLO set from CLO. This will allow our users to more easily move between CLO and CLO set. So in our library tab, you're going to see an updated icon with a little cloud and a C. If you click on that, you're going to notice that it's blank if you haven't signed in yet. If you've already signed in, then you'll see your account there. Now, if you need to add your account, that's really easy. All you have to do is go into the Add Account button, which will be at the top right. So once I go into this little button, Add Account, I can then hit the little plus Add Account. This will immediately take you into CLO set, where you can either sign into your account or create an account. These accounts are free, so I'd create one if you don't have one. You can then just hit sign in, and you'll immediately then be logged in CLO. You can then just hit close. Let's quickly jump back into the CLO set screen. Now, CLO set can be used for a multitude of reasons. It is, though, at its core, a communication platform, along with kind of a storage platform, too. With this update of linking CLO set and CLO together, you can now more easily upload and download and then update your garments and styles and everything. And you can do that now between CLO set and CLO. By going into a workroom, you can either favorite a specific style, or you could favorite an entire workroom. They will then be linked back into CLO, into this little library here. You can hit the refresh tab, and then you'll see the update. So here I can click on my favorite content, and I'll see if I favorited any styles or not by hitting the refresh tab. This CLO set tab is going to work just like your CLO library works. Double-clicking on workrooms or anything like that will then open up them all down below so that you can see each file and everything. You can then download files and then quickly open them into CLO if you'd like, and then adjust them any way you'd see fit. As more users continue to use CLO set, questions may arise. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to hello@closet.com. One of the CLO set team members will respond back to you as quickly as possible. We've also added this new feature. It's called Replace Patterns. It's super cool. This will allow you to quickly and easily update patterns while keeping the arrangement, sewing, fabric, top stitching, and internal lines all intact. So let's jump into it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a DXF pattern, and I'm just going to right click and add this into my workspace as I normally would. The important thing to know is that you have to make sure that the pattern you're going to use to replace must have the same amount of segment points as the pattern you're replacing. So as you can see here, I have the same amount of segment points, but the segment lines don't have to be the same length or anything. Just the points have to be the same. amount. So here I'm going to go to my select tool and I'm going to select this sleeve, right click and copy it. I could also hit Control C as a shortcut. And now I'm going to go into one of my symmetrical sleeves, right click and say replace pattern. This is what I'm going to use to replace that sleeve. What's nice is when I replace this pattern, both symmetrical sleeves are going to be updated. Also, as we've talked about already, that internal line stays. And all of the relationships with the internal line stay as well. So you can continue to move that around. Also, the top stitching stays, and if you noticed, the fabric stays as well. And the graphic will stay too. If we jump into our 3D window, you'll notice that the sewing relationship is still intact along with the arrangement. One of the coolest things is also that patch on top of the sleeve. That is also still intact. Like all of the sewing relationship to that internal shape, all of that's still there. So what are some things that will be replaced? Well, that will be the point position, curves, notches, baseline, pattern name, and grading info. One other thing to know is if you're replacing a half symmetric pattern, like these two body pieces, you have to make sure that your patterns are also half symmetrical. So I'm just going to quickly and easily select these two pattern pieces and make them half symmetric by just right clicking and doing that. Now I can go along and copy and replace my pattern. And what you're going to see here are the things that will be replaced. First off, let's select this first pattern and you'll see the name here. When I replace it with this pattern, you'll see that the name of this pattern is going to change. As you can see, it's now crop. Another thing to notice is that the baselines have been updated. And even the grading information is now updated. So the grading information that was from that DXF is now onto this pattern. Even if I delete this DXF, that grading information will still be there. So that's really nice. I can continue to adjust the style around, edit the internal lines, move everything, get it all to the positioning that I want. And then once I'm all happy with everything, I can quickly simulate. But I'm just going to move this graphic around, get the placement just right. And now with a quick spacebar hit, I've got a whole new garment. So this is going to be really great because this feature can come in handy for like a multitude of things. Just one is being able to simply update a popular style for a new season with a different body. You're now going to be able to adjust the grading of each size. So here I've applied grading to this pattern. And if I go into my grading tool, I can then select Edit Grading. Here I can check what my grading is between each size. I can then go into the Edit Grading Each tool. Here I can select one of my graded sizes and easily click and drag and move it around. I could also use my arrow keys to move them around in a precise measurement as well if I wanted. I can then recheck what my distance is, and you'll see in my property editor that it has been updated. This also works with your curve points as well. So if I go to Edit Grading Each Curve, I can do the same thing by clicking or dragging, or I can use the arrow keys for precise measurement movements. We have updated some of our add print options here. So I'm going to demonstrate some of these updates. If I go over to the add print button in my object browser, right over here, I can click this button and then it will take me to my window where I can select any artwork I have on my computer. I'm going to use a PNG. And as you can see, now I have my PNG on top of my fabric. This is my print. And what we're going to go over is this repeat type. When I hit this drop down menu, you're going to see that there's some new repeat types. There's the diamond, X and Y. Now I'm going to select each one so that you can see all of the differences between these. Another update that we did is the custom. So what's nice about this custom is if I go to this drop down, I'll then be able to customize my print repeat. So I can play around with the space X and Y and the shift X and Y. Now this is going to be really nice because you're going to be able to make a lot of different variations really quickly and decide on the variation you like almost instantly. So as you can see, now I have this whole new variation, but of course I could go in to any one of these little tabs and change it around if I wanted. What's also really nice is my texture is getting updated. As you can see, this texture image is being updated instantly as I change everything around, which is kind of on point. We've also added this new feature, Open Fabric Selective. So this is going to be really great because it's going to allow you to pick certain like texture maps and everything, actually just maps, from ZFab files to bring into other fabric files. So I'm going to show you here. I'm going to go to my object browser, right click on top of the fabric and say Open Selective Fabric. I'll then be taken to my computer files and I can grab any ZFab file I want. Now this pop-up window is going to come up. I can click select all and then all my fabric maps are going to be replaced. Or I can uncheck that and select certain fabric maps that I want. So here I'm just going to replace the texture because I just want the print from this fabric in this new fabric. I can also change the back and side of the fabric if I'd like as well. The default will be open, same as front. You also have the option to change out your physical properties. We're not going to do that because we want this knit structure. I'm then going to hit OK, and you're going to see that now I have the print added in a matter of seconds. How cool is that? So I can continue to use my texture editing tool and adjust this print around as I want, as you can see, and just continue to play around. What's really nice is this tool also works with your colorway mode. So this is going to be really helpful because now you're going to be able to add like headers and stripes and prints to one whole project file really quickly and easily by just doing that right click, open select file, and then you're going to be able to select different fabric maps to adjust and play around with. I'm not going to adjust the physical property yet because I'm going to show you something really important to just know right now. But here I'll hit update and now I have a header with my print. Now what's important to know is all of my physical properties right now are following this knit fleece terry. But if I go right click, open select material, and let's say I select this waffle and I hit open. I'm going to use the same maps, but I'm going to now bring in the physical property of the waffle. What you'll see is now my physical properties change in this colorway. However, it's important to note that it also changes in the other colorways as well. So when you adjust your physical property, it affects all colorways, not just the one you selected, as of now. But you can continue to go in and adjust different texture, images, and all of that. Just know that the physical property is the only thing that will affect all colorways at once, but the textures will only affect that one colorway that you have selected. As you can see again, I'll uncheck the physical property, and this speckle will just affect this one colorway, not any of the others. In 6.2, you can now remove linked top stitching while keeping your pattern symmetric. So this is going to be really great for pants. I hope all of you are very excited about this. I'm very excited about this. It's going to allow you to apply asymmetric top stitches while having symmetric patterns still. So let's go through exactly how we can do this. We already have our top stitching applied to our garment, as you can see. So I have these pair of jeans. I've already got my top stitching. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my edit top stitching. From there, I can then select the top stitches in which I want to unlink. So when I look at my 2 pant legs, I don't want to see the top stitching on both sides. So I'm going to go to my Edit Top Stitches tool, and I'm going to select one of my top stitching. Once I select that, I can then right click. I'll then see the option of Remove Linked Editing. Here, once I've removed the linked editing, I can then easily select either top stitches and delete them by just either selecting it, right-clicking and hitting delete, or just hitting delete on my keyboard. And as you can see, it's pretty great. Now I can have my top stitches on either side or just one side. There is an important thing to know. If I do bring this into an older version of CLO, there won't be any top stitches then. We have made a few updates in 6.2 pertaining to Genologia. Previously, when working in our UV editor mode, you were unable to bake the puckering images. You could only do the normal maps. However, with this update, we now can bake the puckering images. So if I jump into my puckering tab in my object browser, you'll see that I have a few puckering images applied to these genes, a little more than a few. Now, if I go to my bake image in my UV editor, I'm now able to bake this image all with the puckering combined. Another update we've done with Genologia is with our multi-texture editor tool. So if you go into your multi-texture editor tool here, you now can bring in those Genologia washes really quickly and easily, as I just did here. So I just brought in that wash for that one leg. I can now use my wheel here to place and move this around. As you may have remembered, it was a little bit difficult to do this with just our graphics tool, so we've made it a lot easier to do it here using our multi-texture editor tool. You can also use our blending modes with the multi-texture editor to blend it properly within the gene. You can then go back to our UV editor. However, you will not be able to bake these textures due to the gene wash. So as you can see, the gene wash is applied throughout the pocket and even the leg. But if I go into bake texture images, I won't be able to. So here I'll try to save it, but a little pop-up will come up saying do the gene file, wash, you're unable to. We've also made some improvements to our nesting mode. So we've updated our nesting mode a bit. As you can see, there are some new tools over on the right side. One of the biggest updates we have done is we've improved our nesting algorithm to be more efficient and effective. When you hit this play button, the algorithm is now going to run. Now, the longer you let it run, the more effective and efficient your nesting will be. I can continue to let this go all the way to 100, or I could hit this stop button and it will stop the moment I hit it, as you can see. Now I have all my pattern pieces nested into my fabric roll. If you go over here to this property editor, you're going to see that it's populated with some new things. And these are all your nesting settings right now. So you can actually play around with this if you like before you even hit play by hitting this nesting settings tool. So let's go through these options. You have the number of garments. You could either do current or grading. I'm going to put total 3 for number of garments. Now you can also say if you'd like this to apply to all colorways, or if you'd only like to apply it to certain colorways as well. So this is good if you have like some engineered prints or good two-way prints or anything like that, because then you can select which colorways that this nesting should apply to. Here you can decide if you'd like it to be one-way or two-way. And you can also decide your buffering space. Now below we have some more information, so you can decide the unit in which you want to see this information in. We have a few options, as you can see. And now you'll see how much your fabric width and height is. And then you're also going to see some more information about the nesting efficiency, so the consumption and remnant fabric, and also the area, so where your fabric is placed. You can change around your fabric roll width by just clicking on the pattern, and then you can change your fabric roll width, and then you can jump back to settings or hit play and see how that nesting will be affected. So let's hit play with all of these settings we've updated and the new fabric roll width. And we're just going to let it load for a little bit to get a more efficient nesting algorithm. And now I'm just going to hit stop. And you'll now see my new nested garments with the 3 garments in total. And you'll see the update in my consumption and remnant percentage, which is really nice. You can delete any extra garments, so that'll be the other 2 garments that I added in. I can delete those outlines and not see them any longer by hitting this delete button. And I can also reset to my default arrangement if I wanted. So here's that reset default arrangement that I can just select. It is no longer in the right click, it is here at this button right here. I could go back to play if I wanted, or I can also take a snapshot of this layout. The snapshot works as it normally has, where you have all of your original options, and then you can just hit save if you'd like. In 6.2, we have updated our review mode to include fitmaps along with rendering options for the avatar and some fabric map options. This is going to give you all a lot more information when you're reviewing multiple sizes at once. So all you'll have to do is pair all of your avatars and set all of this up over here in your grading. Once you've done that, you can then go to your grade review mode. Now you'll see the new icons at the top here. The first new icon is the fabric one. You've got thick texture, monochrome, translucent, and mesh. Let's jump to translucent. So what's nice about having this translucent now with the multiple sizes is you'll be able to see just how close the body is at certain points and positions of your garment. You can also jump between your fit maps, stress and strain, and now the fabric's able to speak to you and tell you exactly how it feels and fits on each size, which is what everyone wants. And finally, we've allowed you to play around with how you're viewing your avatar. So you could do texture, monochrome, or mesh view. The rest of the review window works exactly the same. So you can still send out all of these images if you'd like, or save them all individually. In 6.2, we have improved our render window to now allow you to select certain colorways in which you would like to render out, which I know a lot of you are going to be excited about. I'm excited. So here, when I have my render window open and I've selected my image, I can now go over to colorway, and there's this little tool right here which I can select. Button. So once I select this button, I'll now see all of the colorways, and I can either select all, or I can go through and select the certain colorways that I'd wish to render out. Once I have, I can then just hit OK, hit that stop button and then the play button, and only the colorways which I have selected will then be rendered out, which you're going to see in a matter of seconds, because that's how fast our render window works. And now you can see the 3 renders that I wanted in these 3 colorways. Thank you so much for watching this webinar. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the cool new updates that 6.2 has to offer, along with some of the improvements we've made. There are more in there, which will follow with some more tips and tricks videos, which will be released on YouTube at a later date. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comment section. And please remember to like and subscribe, because we have so much great content here on YouTube that will really help you out. Our basics beginners training, for one, is one of my favorites. Thanks again.